Welcome back to Beyond the Buzzer. Here with Austin again, episode 2. Austin, how you doing? What's up?
Good. How are you doing? Nothing much happened this week. Not a
Yeah,
lot.
not a lot in the sports world happening. This episode's basically just gonna be like some stuff we talked about a little last episode, but just more in depth. We're gonna cover like free agency, NFL free agency, the drafts, and then we're gonna move to some NBA news. And yeah, I mean, gonna be a little bit of a shorter episode this week since I said there's not much going on. But I mean, yeah, let's get right into it.
For sure.
So, free agency's coming up. Some big news in the last week was JJ Watt getting released. That was a bit of a surprise. The Texans are going down, and they're going down fast.
Yeah.
They have said that they're trying to keep Deshaun Watson. I don't know if that's going to be possible. What do you think?
It doesn't look too bright in Houston over there, as we said last week. Watson does not want to be there. He wants to get moved. Maybe they trade up with Miami at 3, get a quarterback there, but it doesn't look too promising if you're a Texans fan. You gave up way too much to get David Johnson, trading away your star receiver, and then it all went downhill from there. We'll see how the new coach does, but other than that, it's not a great time to be a Texans fan.
Yeah, and I don't really see Miami giving up that pick because they have the chance to get one of the better wide receivers in the draft with either Chase or Devonta
Arthur
Smith,
Smith.
or they
Mhm.
could get maybe even O-line Penei Sewell. I've seen Penei Sewell's draft stock go a little down recently. What do you think?
Yeah, I heard that as well. A lot of teams are looking quarterback. They may move down from what I've been hearing. A lot of teams have been looking to move down. A lot of teams are looking to move up as well to try to get their star quarterback of the future. I've been hearing the Panthers a lot in a lot of trade rumors recently. Washington may be a team on the lookout for a quarterback. Indianapolis might want a young gun. There hasn't been a lot of talk about offensive linemen, especially as of recent. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see where that goes.
All right, so some top free agents this year. We have Dak Prescott. Obviously, we said J.J. Watt. We have Leonard Williams, Allen Robinson, and then some lower tier guys are guys like Patrick Peterson, Yannick Ngakoue, and then some underrated guys are Will Fuller and Leonard Fournette. So Austin, what do you think about Dak?
I think that the Cowboys will be giving Dak Prescott the franchise tag. I don't think that they will be looking to extend him long term.
Mhm.
I think that it's a very low risk, high reward type of thing right now with the franchise tag. It works out in their favor. I think that they'll mutually agree on a number in that situation. I think that I really don't see them drafting a quarterback at pick 10, but if there was a guy that fell to them and they felt that it was their guy, I think there's a chance they can go after a guy like a Justin Fields, maybe Mac Jones or a Trey Lance if they fall to 10. I don't really foresee that happening. I think that corner is a much bigger need for them. I think
Yeah,
Dak will end up, though, staying in Dallas.
I've seen a trade rumor. Now, this is probably not going to happen, but I've seen Dak Prescott for Deshaun Watson. What do you think about that? I
I
don't
don't
think
think
that's going to
that
happen, but
I don't think the Texans would take that. I think that the Texans they're trying to keep Watson. I don't think that they're going to be wanting an injured not Deshaun Watson, an injured Dak Prescott as their quarterback. I think that they want, maybe if they're going to move on from Deshaun Watson, I think they're totally going to want someone young. I think
Mhm.
they're going to want some new blood. I mean, Dak Prescott is probably around 26 to 28 range. He's been probably in the middle of his prime, but that injury is very serious. And I don't foresee that happening unless there's a lot of picks involved or another team involved in that, because I
Yeah,
could see a
I
3-team
think
trade maybe.
I think the Texans, if they give up Deshaun, I think they're going to go full rebuild. Either they're going to trade for a high first round pick this year, or maybe if they go with the Jets, get Sam Darnold or just a younger guy like that.
Agreed.
So another guy, we have J.J. Watt. I've seen that he might go to the Browns and team up with Myles Garrett. That would be pretty crazy. What do you think about that?
I saw that as well. That report was out this morning. I was thinking, I've been hearing a lot of Green Bay. A lot of people say that he'd be great off the edge there. I've also heard Pittsburgh. I mean, both of his brothers are there. I think that he'd be great there. I think he'd be willing to take a pay cut to try to win. But I mean, I honestly believe that JJ Watt is near the end of he's out of his prime. He's near the end. I think he's nearing the end of his career. I think he should go for a ring at this point. I don't think the Texans he hasn't proven anything with the Texans. And I think that he should go for a ring, and wherever he sees best fit, go there.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns and the Steelers are both really good landing spots. If he's trying to win, I wouldn't say 100%, contenders for both of those teams just yet, especially the Steelers after what happened, the disappointment this year. But I'd say the Browns are trending, towards that contender title. If Baker keeps playing well, they get OBJ back, and their defense was stellar this year. So if JJ Watt goes there, that could be really good for him.
Speaking of OBJ, I've been hearing trade rumors about him and Stephon Gilmore as well. A lot of big stars I've been hearing and a lot of trade rumors recently. Odell, I've been hearing Washington. I don't know what they would be willing to give up for that, and I'm not a huge fan of it at all.
I don't
I
want
don't
OBJ back in the NFC East.
I really don't foresee it happening. I think that Cleveland's going to stick with their guys. I think that won't really happen. Stephon Gilmore, I don't know if he'll get moved. I could see a team like maybe Dallas giving up a first round pick, maybe a second round pick as well to try to get a corner, because I think that he'll be better than any of the corners in this year's draft, most likely. Although he's near the end of his prime, I think that he still has a few more good years in him.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Stephen Gilmore's up there as one of the best cornerbacks in the league still.
Agreed.
So we have Leonard Williams. As Giants fans, we can cover him a little bit. What do you think the Giants are going to do with him?
I heard he does not want the tag. He does not want to get franchise tag. I think he wants something long term. He came off his best season. He looks like the first round pick that he was supposed to be with the Jets out of USC. He looks really good. I can see the Giants extending him long term. I could also see the Giants saying, "Hey, you want way too much money, and we could go elsewhere and draft an edge rusher in the draft." Such as a guy like Kwity Paye, Greg Rousseau. There's a lot of edge rushers in this year's class, and a lot of these guys, there's a lot of edge rushers in this year's class, and a lot of these guys can have the potential to be like a Leonard Williams. We really don't know. Is Leonard Williams worth $20 million a year? Maybe, maybe not. We really don't know.
I mean, the price is, it keeps going up. I think the salary cap is lowered a little bit this year. Am I right?
You're correct. Yes.
Yeah. So the salary cap is a little bit lower, but the price for these guys just keeps going up. So, I mean, 20 million isn't that absurd, but that would be up there as one of the highest paid defensive linemen in the league. I think Leonard Williams, what do you have? 11 and a half sacks. I mean, that
Yes.
obviously is career high. Took a huge leap from last year, having, I think, only a half a sack, maybe less than 2 sacks. Probably, I think he had a half sack. But yeah, I mean, if the Giants pay him, I won't be upset. I'd like them to keep a hold of him just because that interior line was so great this year. But if not, it's not the end of the world.
Agreed. How about a guy like Allen Robinson? Where do you see fit for him?
Yeah, so we talked about him a little bit on last episode. We said he was like liking tweets about going to the Jets and teaming up with Deshaun Watson. I could definitely see him going to the Jets, and if that Deshaun Watson trade happens. But I mean, what are some other wide receiver needy teams? I know the Giants obviously need a wide.
I heard the Ravens were interested in him, which I could see as a good fit, especially with Lamar Jackson. But although they're a very rush-heavy offense, they really need a wide receiver one. Marquise Hollywood Brown does not seem to be that. I could also see them drafting a wide receiver in the draft. I heard Kadarius Toney's name has been linked to them as well. Also, a guy like Kenny Golladay has been linked to the Ravens. But yeah, there's a good chance that Allen Robinson goes to the Ravens. I don't foresee him going back to Chicago. The Giants, I've heard. The Jets, I've heard. A lot. There's a few wide receiver needed teams. He's going to get around anywhere from 15 to about $20 million is my best estimate for him on about a 3 to 4 year deal. And he'll be probably worth it because the way he played in Jacksonville and the way that he played in Chicago has proven that he's worth the money.
Yeah, definitely playing with Chicago with, really bad quarterbacks, Mitch Trubisky, and Nick Foles, who obviously haven't been the quarterbacks the Chicago Bears want them to be. Allen Robinson has still put up great stat lines, and obviously he played amazing in Jacksonville before he was in Chicago. So we'll move on to 2 underrated free agents that we were talking about before. Will Fuller is definitely on my list of one of those underrated free agents.
Yes. Will Fuller is coming off a year where he got suspended for PEDs with the Texans. I think he would have got a lot more money. I think that kind of hurt his value in the market a little bit. He still was a top tier wide receiver. I could see him. He's a big time player. He's pretty big. He's pretty tall, physical receiver. Maybe the Titans might go after a guy like Will Fuller. I could see. The Bears, if they lose out on Allen Robinson, maybe they would want another wide receiver to replace him. Will Fuller might be a guy like that. I think that he could fit on both those teams extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans have Corey Davis as a free agent. So if they lose him, maybe they try and get Will Fuller. Obviously, the Bears, they could try and get Fuller as well to fill that Allen Robinson void. But at the trade deadline, I was hearing a lot of rumors of him getting traded to the Packers, and eventually those trade rumors fell through. But I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there and he's going to be one of the best wide receiver twos in the league, behind Devontae Adams, and that Packers offense is going to be stacked, pending if Aaron Jones stays or not. What do you think about Aaron Jones? Obviously, he's another free agent we didn't cover yet.
Aaron Jones, I've heard, is most likely going to return to Green Bay. From what I've been hearing, I think that they'll pay him enough for him to stay. I don't really feel like there's a lot of suitors for Aaron Jones, to be completely honest. I think that his best case scenario is if he stays in Green Bay. He does a great job as a receiving back. And Jamal, I don't know. The only reason why I would see Aaron Jones leaving is because Jamal Williams was getting goal line carries at the end of the year, which he may not have liked, I guess. But I think Aaron Jones stays with Green Bay. I see him as their running back one for the future.
I mean, I've seen a possible landing spot for Aaron Jones being Miami, who obviously didn't have a great running back this year. Myles Gaskin was hurt. He did play pretty well, but I mean, they obviously want like a concrete guy coming in there to be their running back one to help two out. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Jones could definitely stay in Green Bay and be a great player, one of the best offenses in the league. And another underrated free agent is Leonard Fournette. So what do you think? Is he going to stay in Tampa? Is he going to try and go for some bigger money, go to another team?
I think he stays in Tampa, and here's why. There was not a lot of interest on him on the waiver wire originally. No one picked up his claim. He just won a Super Bowl. He probably wants to run it back. Him and Brady seem to have a really good relationship. I see him getting carries there next year. I think he'll get more than he did this year at the end of the year. So yeah, I think that him and Ronald Jones are a good combo together. I could see that happening for another 2, maybe 3 years, depending on how Fournette plays. Fournette was supposed to be an amazing running back, a top tier guy. He was drafted 4th to Jacksonville. So yeah, he's showing his potential there in Tampa Bay. Maybe he stays, maybe he leaves.
He was that top tier guy in Jacksonville. I mean, he was one of the best running backs in the league in his rookie season, and the Jacksonville Jaguars made the AFC Championship. So he still has that potential to be one of the best running backs in the league. Obviously, sharing carries and sharing playing time with Ronald Jones is going to be a little iffy on that, but I definitely think he can come back to Tampa Bay. He did get more carries than Ronald Jones in the playoffs, which I actually like to see because I think he's a better player than Ronald Jones. That didn't really happen in the regular season. He was kind of put in the back seat. But yeah, I think he can come back to Tampa Bay and maybe they can repeat. Who knows?
Yep, that sounds great. All right. So let's go into the NFL draft. With number 1, it seems like Jacksonville is taking Lawrence. It doesn't seem like they want to move that pick. It seems pretty unanimous. They had all their guys there at the pro day that he held. He's getting surgery on his left arm right now. He's supposed to be back before training camp and it's on his left arm. And it seems like they're in love with him. It seems like he's their guy.
Yeah.
So do you think he's the unanimous one?
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you pass up on Trevor Lawrence, the Jaguars are going to get flamed. You can't pass up on him. The throws that he was pulling off in that pro day, that was crazy. He was throwing the ball 60 yards down the field, a dot right to the wide receiver. So, I mean, you can't pass up on Trevor Lawrence with that first overall pick.
Yeah, there's been people saying that he was going to be the number 1 pick last year if he was eligible to go out, and the year before that when he was a true freshman and won the national championship. So this has been a while in the making. Jacksonville got extremely lucky that they got number 1. They have their guy now. I think they'll replace Minshew. I don't think they're too worried about that, and it seems great for Jacksonville to get their guy.
Yeah, luckily that surgery is on the left arm, so it's not on his throwing arm. That could raise a couple questions, but I think with a guy as talented as Trevor Lawrence, he'll be fine. So we have some other good quarterbacks on the board this year. We have Zach Wilson possibly going to the Jets. We have Justin Fields, Trey Lance. What do you think about those guys?
So as of what I've been hearing from NFL execs, from what I've been reading into, they're saying that Zach Wilson is number 2. They say that he as confident as they are in Lawrence going 1, they're almost as confident as they are in Zach Wilson going number 2. I'm not a huge Zach Wilson fan. He gets a lot of player comparisons to the likes of Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and other mobile quarterbacks who could make big plays down the field. He also didn't play the best game against his biggest competition against Coastal Carolina. He's the new wave type of quarterback that people want to see in the NFL. He's the guy who likes to make big plays. He likes to escape the pocket. He had 10 rushing touchdowns this year. So I also think that the Jets could use him. They would also have to move on from Darnold first, though. They would have to make a move for Darnold.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, with his draft stock, there has to be a little asterisk. He was playing at BYU. He wasn't playing the greatest competition. He wasn't like Justin Fields playing the best teams in the Big Ten every week. He didn't beat Trevor Lawrence in the playoff semifinals. He didn't do that. So there's another exception. Was that a fluke? Was it not? I mean, I think he's shown that he had 33 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He is a great player, but that question has to be raised.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that statement. Going off of that, Justin Fields, he was a transfer from Georgia. He was the second highest rated recruit in that class behind Trevor Lawrence. He has the ability to make big plays. The thing was that he was playing in the Big Ten. He didn't really have a lot of competition during the year until that big Clemson game where he proved everybody wrong and absolutely beat Trevor Lawrence, which no one was expecting. He's a big framed type of quarterback. He's like 6'4". He could throw the ball really nicely. I heard that he's trending up in draft stock as of recent. I heard maybe top 4, maybe Atlanta if they're willing to move on from Matt Ryan, although I've heard they have not been willing to move on from him really as of recent. The Panthers at 8 are another viable option from what I've been hearing. They really like him and his stature and what he could do for them because they lost 3 games this year within I think it was a 3-point game or something like that. And they want that guy who can make the big plays down the field. And he seems to be that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, those are definitely some good landing spots. Possibly the Lions. What pick do the Lions have?
Detroit has pick 7.
Yeah, so I mean, they just got Jared Goff, who's on a big contract. Maybe they take Fields and develop him for the next couple of years because obviously they're in a rebuilding stage. Jared Goff isn't going to be the answer to them. Yeah, I have heard the Falcons are holding on to Matt Ryan and Julio Jones for the later part of their career, hopefully to win more games. As you said, they only lost some games by a couple points. That huge Dallas Cowboys comeback in the second week that they never should have lost, or maybe it was the third week. Where they had like 2 onside kicks. That was crazy. But yeah, I mean, the Falcons still have some potential. Their defense isn't great. But yeah, I mean, a bunch of landing spots for Justin Fields. Excited to see where he goes.
Agreed.
What about your guy, Trey Lance?
So Trey Lance, he was recruited out of college to be a safety. He really thought he was going to end up at Minnesota. He ended up walking on, I'm pretty sure, at North Dakota State, who offered him eventually to become their quarterback. He's a big framed guy. He only had that one game though, that showcase game against a very weak team. I think it was Central Arkansas. He played pretty well. He threw no interceptions his last year in the full season. He seems to be the guy who can make big plays. I've heard that Carolina really likes him. They might move up to number 3 to take him. He's a quarterback. He's one of the new wave type of guys. He makes big plays. He's a very big type of guy. He's going to be a big time quarterback. I think that he's going to translate over to the NFL really nicely. I think that his game plan is very simple, but at the same time, very efficient. And I think that he could translate and be a great NFL quarterback.
Yeah, he definitely strikes me as one of those modern NFL QB type of guys, mobile, can do it all basically. So we can go into the running backs for this draft. There's 2 notable ones. We have Travis Etienne and Najee Harris from Clemson and Alabama. Where do you think those guys are going to go?
So as of recent, I've heard Najee Harris is flying up draft boards compared to Etienne. At the beginning of the season, these are 2 running backs who could have declared for the draft last year. They've decided to stay one more teams with their respective teams, one more year. Etienne had a pretty solid season. He had a lot of very good games against a lot of the ACC teams. He also had a lot of leg cramps and injuries on one of his legs. I forgot which one it was, but maybe he could hinder his draft stock just a bit. I could see a team like Atlanta wanting to take a chance on Etienne because of Todd Gurley aging a little bit, and they might want a new wave of a new type of running back, which I like Etienne in Atlanta. They might take him with their 2nd round pick, maybe move up back into the 1st if they can land him. And what I've been hearing about Najee Harris, 18 with Miami, is 100% a very viable landing spot for him. He could become that number 1 running back. Him and Tua would have a nice reunion over there, and maybe adding Devonta Smith. You might have the Alabama offense that they've been dreaming of. Yeah, Najee Harris, he is a specimen. He could run the ball extremely well. He's very physical. He's very athletic. He's probably the closest thing I've seen to Saquon Barkley out of all the running backs in this year's draft. He's been, in my opinion, he's underrated. He had an amazing game in the national championship. He had an amazing game against Florida. He's a very athletic runner, and I think he's one of the top tier running backs. Could be a first round pick in fantasy for that matter next year.
Yeah, Najee Harris. He does strike a little resemblance to Saquon with me. He's a really talented guy, big guy, strong, can move. He's got some agility. I think definitely the Dolphins is a possible landing spot for him. Do the Jets have two first round picks this year? They have that Seahawks pick. So I've seen either him or ETN, one of those running backs to the Jets. Obviously, they didn't have a running back this year as Le'Veon Bell left. Frank Gore and who was it?
Michael P. Ryan.
Ty Johnson. Was it Ty Johnson?
Ty Johnson and Michael P. Ryan as well.
Yeah,
They
those
all
guys stepped into that spots. Obviously, those guys aren't who you want to be your starting running back, so they could definitely look in the draft to get one of those two guys. So we can move on to receivers now. So I mean, we have three great receivers. We have Devonta Smith, Jamar Chase, who sat out last year, and Jalen Waddle. What do you think?
yeah.
About
Okay, so Devonta Smith, he is probably the best wide receiver we've seen in a very long time. It's not very often you see Heisman candidate wide receivers. He won the Heisman. He made the big plays. He was Mac Jones' number one weapon. He showed it against every single cornerback this year. He showed up. He didn't have like any really bad games. Even when there was almost in every game he scored a touchdown. And he's shown that he is the solidified wide receiver one, in my opinion. I could see him. I really don't foresee him falling anywhere past the top 15. It's not very common. You don't see wide receivers go in the top 10 this year. I really strongly believe he does not fall out of the top 10. I think I've heard he may go to Miami at 3. I've heard the Eagles at 6. I've heard the Lions at 7 if Kenny Golladay was to leave. And then I've been hearing the Giants at 11 if he falls that late. I really don't foresee it happening. He's a primetime wide receiver. He's also an amazing route runner. If he's not the best wide receiver in the NFL, like people are making him out to be and has the potential to be, he's still going to be an amazing route runner. He's a better receiver, in my opinion, than Jerry Jeudy was in college. Jamar Chase, he sat out this year. It would have been nice to see him play a little bit. His quarterback situation at LSU would not have been great, though. Guys like Miles Brennan and Max Johnson are not the best of best quarterbacks. Jamar Chase is still probably wide receiver 2 in my book in this draft. Jamar Chase can make the big plays. He's a very physical wide receiver. Reminds me a lot of a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. when he was in college. Also reminds me of Jarvis Landry, DJ Chark, many other LSU wide receivers. He's a very physical type of guy. He's a big frame, and I could see him translating very well over to the NFL. And Jalen Waddle. The player comparisons with him are like Tyreek Hill. He can make the big plays. They can line him up in the slot. They can line him up on the outside. They like to move him around. The kid is a competitor. I've never seen a kid who played in that national championship game with that type of injury. He could have said, okay, I'm not playing. I'm going to help my draft stock a little bit. The kid played injured. He's a competitor. He loves to win. And I could see him translating over the NFL very, very well. He's been set up with the Giants. I've heard a lot about. He's a big time kid. He's a really good wide receiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there are 3 teams in the top 10 that could very well go wide receiver. You have the Eagles, Dolphins, and the Lions if the Lions don't look to go quarterback. And all 3 of those guys might be taken. Waddle, Smith, and Chase might all be gone. I've seen a lot of Jamar Chase to the Eagles because the Bengals aren't going to pick a receiver. They're probably going to go maybe Penei Sewell, right? They're 5.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a Giants fan, I hope Waddle can fall to 11. If not, though, there is a very special guy out of Florida that you like, Kyle Pitts. What do you think about him?
Kyle Pitts. Wow. He doesn't drop balls. He's the number 1 guy to go to in the goal line. I think that he is the perfect fit for the New York Giants, having 2 tight ends that you could line up next to each other, like Evan Ingram and Kyle Pitts. If Ingram has had history with being injured, Pitts could just step up and be that guy, the number 1 guy. He gets player comparisons of the likes of George Kittle, Zach Ertz, like a few years back, Darren Waller, and Travis Kelce. His blocking is a little bit iffy, but you could line him up on the outside. You could line him up on the inside. He's a very big play type of guy. He's extremely reliable. I think that him and Daniel Jones would mesh extremely well. I think that Florida ran a very similar offense to what the Giants do run. I think that he's going to translate over amazing in the NFL. I've been hearing his name be linked to the Panthers. I've heard his name be linked to the Giants, and I've heard Arizona, who likes him a lot, and the Patriots as well. The guy's a big time player. I don't really foresee him dropping out of the top 15. I think that he is solidified, maybe a top 5 player on this year's draft.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Talent-wise, definitely top 5. But the Giants definitely are a possible suitor for him. They ran among the top in the league, the most 2 tight end sets in the league. So having Ingram and Kyle Pitts using that same Jason Garrett offense as last year, which wasn't great, but if you add Kyle Pitts, who's a really good weapon, that could be deadly. And they're both really, really amazing, talented wide receivers. I know Ingram got a lot of hate this year. He probably could have sent the Giants to the playoffs with that catch against the Eagles that went right through his hands, but you can't deny he has talent. He's a fast guy. He's a good route runner. If he works on the hands this offseason, I mean, he's going to be scary.
Yep, this Giants offense is looking very good with a healthy Saquon, maybe some new wide receivers in there. It depends on who we sign. They have Darius Slayton coming back. I don't think Golden Tate will be back. Sterling Shepard. They have a lot of guys who they could give the ball to. So, yeah, the Giants I could see having a nice little step up this year.
Yeah, hopefully Daniel Jones can take that leap. I mean, he only threw 11 touchdowns this year after throwing 24 in his rookie year. I think that has a lot to do with Jason Garrett running a different offense. That might have screwed him up a bit. They didn't really take that many shots downfield. When they did, Slayton was catching balls downfield. Austin Mack caught a few, the undrafted guy at Ohio State. So they have a bunch of weapons on this offense that they can use this year. I think it's going to be a good, promising season for the Giants, hopefully. All right, so that was a bunch of NFL stuff, free agency and draft. We can move into a little bit of the NBA. There hasn't been a lot of news, but we can talk about what's been going on recently. So the Jazz are the best team in the league, and they have 5 losses on the season. They've won 19 out of their last 20. They beat the Bucks. They just picked up a huge win against the Sixers last night. Do you think the Jazz are for real? I mean, in my opinion, I think yes, kinda, maybe a little bit. What do you think?
So my thoughts on that is that, I mean, they have guys, Rudy Gobert, who's been playing extremely well, Donovan Mitchell, Jordan Clarkson off the bench has been unbelievable, Bogdanovich, Ingles. They have a very, very well-rounded team. They all meshed extremely together, which I don't think anybody was really expecting at the beginning of the year. I think they are for real. I mean, everybody's making that Sixers win to be an amazing win. Embiid was out. So yeah, Gobert, everybody's saying is going to be the defensive player of the year. From what I've been hearing, he's one of the best defenders, and Ben Simmons still managed to put up 42 points on him last night.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of surprising. The Jazz didn't make any additions this offseason. They have the same exact guys, and Quinn Snyder just transformed the offense. They're playing really well. They're making, I think, about 17 threes a game, which if they continue that trend throughout the entire season, that's going to be the most in NBA history, which is absolutely crazy. They have guys that can light it up: Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich, as you said. So yeah, I think they can be contenders. Obviously, Rudy Gobert, if he's getting you less than 10 points a night, doesn't even matter because he's such a huge presence on the defensive end. People aren't going to want to drive on him. And obviously, you said Ben Simmons. He put up 42 last night. We can talk about that. Pretty crazy how Ben Simmons put up 42 points and didn't shoot a 3-pointer, especially in today's NBA, right? I mean, he obviously cannot shoot. If he can shoot, that would be a huge addition to his game. But I mean, he put up 42 against the 2-time defensive player of the year, going right in the paint, right at him. So that's a pretty crazy feat. So we can transition into another team, the Pelicans. A lot of people thought they were going to be, a solidified playoff team. Zion coming off a great rookie year, even though he only played about 22 games. Brandon Ingram coming out of a breakout All-Star year. They trade for Steven Adams and then sign him immediately, which I don't think is a very good idea. And I'll go on that a little later. And in the Drew Holiday trade, they get Eric Bledsoe. And the Pelicans really have not lived up to the hype. Um, Obviously, they traded for Steven Adams, as I said, immediately signed him to a contract without even seeing how the Pelicans would mesh on the floor, which is a really bad idea. Their spacing is among the worst in the league this year. They can't get any 3-point shots up, and Zion can't even drive in the rim because he has Steven Adams standing right on the next block to him. So how is Zion supposed to bully his way in the paint if Steven Adams has another center guarding him who's drawing him in? They're just going to double team Zion. So I mean, I think it was a really, really bad idea to especially extend Steven Adams after trading him. Yeah, you can trade him, try him out. Doesn't work, maybe dump him off at the trade deadline or sign him to a 1-year deal, but they signed him to a 3-year deal. Now they're stuck with him.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Pelicans have a lot of players that don't mesh well together. I kind of knew this was coming. They have guys like Eric Bledsoe and JJ Redick, but at the same time, they also have guys who are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, like Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. Those are two really young athletic guys that are lanky and they like to, I mean, Ingram's lengthy, but Zion's built. Those are guys that are like new NBA players. That's like the new wave of the NBA, guys like that. And they have guys like Lonzo Ball as well. Lonzo Ball, Eric Bledsoe, and
Redick?
AJ Redick. Yeah, those guys are not meant for that team. Those guys are meant for a team like the Sixers or another team like who plays a very slow-paced game of basketball. They like to pass it to guys on the corners and pop threes and stuff like that. They're not meant for a team that likes to go run fast-paced offense. That's not meant for them.
Yeah, and I mean, the Bucks could possibly trade for JJ Redick, and that's what I'm thinking in my mind. They need their shooter, because obviously Giannis draws so much gravity to the paint, so easy for him to kick it out, but he doesn't really have any amazing 3-point shooters on that team. So if the Pelicans are giving up JJ Redick, and he hasn't been shooting amazing this season, but if the Pelicans are giving up JJ Redick, I think the Bucks should totally capitalize on that situation. Eric Bledsoe has been really up and down this year. He either scores 18 points or he gives you 5 and 3 turnovers and does nothing. So I don't really like Eric Bledsoe down there. It doesn't even feel like he wants to play there. Just not showing a lot of heart. And then big game for the Knicks last night. Beat the Hawks, I think by 11. Julius Randle puts up 44 and 11 and like 5 assists, shoots 7 threes. I mean, that game was so fun to watch. It seemed like Julius Randle could not miss. I mean, I have a little bit of Knicks bias, but if he doesn't make the All-Star game, I think, come on, like you got to give this man the All-Star.
I'm a Sixers fan, and Theo Pinson said it best last night. If this guy is not an All-Star, I don't know what's up.
Yeah.
Julius Randle is probably number 2 power forward in the NBA behind Giannis, in my opinion. He's playing like it. He's playing like it. He's playing like it. Julius Randle has been playing amazing. The Knicks have a very young core. They with the likes of RJ Barrett, they added Derrick Rose now, who brings a little bit more veteran presence. Emmanuel Quickly, who's no one was expecting to play this well. The Knicks are looking like a playoff team. I was not expecting to say that at the beginning of the year. Yeah, I'm pretty surprised.
Yeah, I mean, they're the 6th seed right now. Emmanuel Quickly's playing great, averaging 12.5 points, 3 assists, 3 boards. I mean, he is special. He's pulling up in transition, quick 3, bang, stepping back on larger defenders, hitting the 3 in their mouth. He had 21 points in the fourth quarter, like about a month ago to the Trailblazers, and he had 31 that game. He just continues to impress me every night. Obi Toppin, it sucks that he's not getting that many minutes per game, just because Julius Randle plays 38 minutes a game, and Thibodeau, Thibodeau needs Julius Randle. But when Obi Toppin's on the floor, he's getting better every game. He's putting the ball on the floor finally. In the first couple of games of his NBA career, he was literally just being a spot-up shooter. Like, he was only shooting threes. In Dayton, in college, he was putting the ball on the floor, going in the post, being aggressive, putting up hook shots, shooting mid-range shots. That's exactly what I want him to do. And in the past couple of games, he's done exactly that. I mean, he had a crazy alley-oop in I think it was the Wizards game or Rockets game couple of games ago. He cocked it completely back. He's got crazy athleticism, and both Quickly and Obi Toppin are going to be great players in the league soon.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. All right. So I mean, there hasn't been any other news recently that's really to talk about. Right, Austin?
Nope, that sounds like about it.
Yeah, guys. So thank you guys for showing support on the last podcast, last episode. I think we got like over 200 views on our first one, which is like out of this world.
Maybe.
Um yeah. So this is it for episode 2.
Yeah,
Thank
be
you
sure
guys
to
for
like,
watching.
be sure
Like,
to like and subscribe.
subscribe. All right. See you on the next episode of Beyond the Buzzer. Peace.
Peace.